How would you like to see a perfect example of how JD Vance can use a whole ton of words to say basically nothing while at the same time avoiding a direct question from about the friendliest source imaginable, and at the same time confirming for you, if you needed confirmation, that you can expect no help whatsoever from a second Trump term? Here it is, all in one clip.
How will we lower the cost of daycare?
Such an important question, Charlie. And I think one of the things that we can do is make it easier for family models to choose, or for families to choose whatever model they want, right? So one of the ways that you might be able to relieve a little bit of pressure on people who are paying so much for daycare is make it so that maybe like grandma or grandpa wants to help out a little bit more, or maybe there's an aunt or uncle that wants to help out a little bit more. If that happens, you relieve some of the pressure on all the resources that we're spending in daycare. Now, you talk about just daycare. Let's say you don't have somebody who can provide that extra set of hands. What we've got to do is actually empower people to get trained in the skills that they need for the 21st century. We've got a lot of people who love kids, who would love to take care of kids, but they can't, either because they don't have access to the education that they need, or maybe more importantly, because the state government says you're not allowed to take care of children unless you have some ridiculous certification that has nothing to do with taking care of kids. So empower people to get the skills they need. Don't force every early child care specialist to go and get a 6-year college degree where they've got a whole lot of debt and Americans are much poorer because they're paying out the wazoo for daycare. Empower working families, empower people who want to do these things for a living, and that's what we got to do.
A storm is tearing up the digital media industry. Only our audience can save us in these difficult times. Help us reach our goal of 100,000 new members at tyt.com/team.
That was a great response. If by great response you mean that he just talked a lot. He did say so many words, but on the substance, that sucked. Some people are going a little bit too far in responding to that and saying that he didn't say anything that could lower the price. He kind of pretended to, and I will address that, but I want to start where he started. So he's asked a question by Charlie Kirk, who, I'm shocked that Charlie Kirk actually seems to think the government should do something to lower the cost of childcare. So credit to Charlie Kirk that he asked that question. He said, childcare is too expensive. How do we get that price down? And JD Vance looked him in the eye and looked the audience in the eye and said, I'm a genius. You all know that. I have an idea. Ask grandma. And I'm a parent. I don't know if you know that. I'm a parent, and childcare is really expensive, and I can't imagine how we'd be able to afford it. And when I heard that, I thought, why didn't I think of that? I've just got relatives sitting around doing nothing, 4 of them actually, in one bed, just facing each other. They've been there for decades. I should ask them to help. That's a great idea. And I can only imagine that, just like me, millions of parents who've been struggling with the high cost of childcare have now had the wool pulled from their eyes, and all of their problems are fixed because this tech douche says to you, hey, have you considered asking a family member to help out? Can you imagine? This is not a rhetorical question. If you can, tell me a more condescending answer to the question of how do we make it more affordable to have kids than just get your family members to help. You colossal a-hole. Jesus, he's a terrible addition to the ticket. But anyway, he goes on from that incredibly condescending answer to something that he could argue. He doesn't actually explain how this would take down the cost of childcare. But what he's saying is, let's just completely lower the qualifications to be a childcare worker, and there, I guess, more of them would exist. They'd open up more childcare places. There'd be more supply, so the price would go down. I guess, again, he doesn't even make that clear, but you could make that case. But there is kind of a potential negative consequence to that. Those standards are there for a reason. I know that you don't think that standards matter and you think education is utterly pointless and anyone who pursues an education is an idiot. But like, arguably, I don't know, the person who's caring for my 2-year-old, I want them to know what they're doing. And so let's say that he were actually to pursue this, which he won't. He doesn't care. They're not going to do literally anything to make having a child less expensive. They're just going to make it more mandated by the government. You're going to have kids if you get pregnant. Then we would lower the standards. we'd get a bunch of people. Some of them would not actually be qualified. And then what do you think the effects of that would be? Like across all 50 states, I think there are going to be some kids that maybe will have some bad experiences from that. You think that they will own up to that were they to ever actually pursue this in a serious way, which again, they won't? No, of course not. Look, the entire point of this wasn't just to spit in the face of parents and be like, have you considered talking to grandma or whatever, or to say that educators are stupid, just let them do whatever they want. They don't need to be certified. It was to tell you we're not going to do anything. That's it. We're not going to do anything. You need to have kids because I think that's the only thing that matters in life. For all of you, I'm super ambitious. I'm going to be president someday when Donald Trump chokes on a McNugget. But for the rest of you, you shouldn't have ambitions. You should just have kids. And it's super expensive, but tough nuggies. You just do it anyway. That's the actual answer. And he's been maybe even more condescending in the past about it. So back in 2021, he's running for Senate. He posted this. He said, universal childcare is a massive subsidy to the lifestyle preferences of the affluent over the preferences of the middle and working class. Now, the chart that he has doesn't even say what he's saying it says. It talks about what people with college degrees want or whatever, which, by the way, he's now pretending that that means you're affluent when he knows that our economy requires like a college degree for basically any entry-level position. And for this guy who's like born and bred in Ivy League schools to pretend that like, oh, it's only the elites that go to college or whatever is insane. Look, it's a simplistic way to try to con Republicans into supporting policies that do significant harm to their own economic well-being. That's all it is. But it gets even worse. He responds to his own tweet saying, it turns out that normal Americans care more about their families than their jobs and want a family policy that doesn't shunt their kids into crap daycare so they can enjoy more freedom in the paid labor force. That is amazing. So, by the way, he doesn't want kids to have to go into crap daycare. He's literally saying 3 years later, let's lower the standards to be a childcare worker. And it turns out that normal Americans care more about their families than their jobs. You know JD Vance, the guy that would never do a full-time career or anything. He's just always with his kids. Now, again, this is mind warfare on poor conservatives. It's to say, no. One of you will have to work, obviously, and both of you kind of have to work. There has to be multiple jobs, but I really don't want women having their own lives. And so normal people only care about their kids, not me. I want to be president someday, and I'm literally trying to be a senator right now. So I guess I'm not normal. But anyway, you should probably stay at home rather than have freedom in the paid labor force. Fundamentally, think about how disconnected from the reality of real people this is. As if there are tens of millions of families of working class conservatives that are like, should we pay for childcare? I don't know. I have so many options, and like maybe I work 3 jobs or maybe we stay at home. These are people who have to work. They both have to work, and they're desperately trying to figure out how to make a life with kids work under that necessary context. And either JD Vance, who's been subsidized by billionaires for decades at this point, doesn't even know that, or he knows it but he doesn't care what happens to you or your family. And then he says universal daycare is class war against normal people. Again, that is who he is at the end of the day. That is who he was. He was constructed by Peter Thiel and other tech a-holes to be. Anything the government could do that helps you and your family, you should hate that, okay? I mean, on some abstract level, you should consider yourself like the silent majority that the coastal elites have forgotten. Don't worry, I remember you. And what I remember about you is that you don't want any help, right? Not any help that would require taxes to be raised. And so I could not have less respect for this guy. I'm gonna close with this, another person who perhaps has even less respect. This is Esperanza, who had replied back in the day to that tweet saying, from a mom for whom this policy would have been life-changing, believe me, you do not want this smoke. That sound you hear is millions of moms taking off their earrings, ready to correct your insane take. If you don't need daycare, great. Congrats on having that privilege. And yeah, maybe he has family members, or maybe he has a set of servants like he's in Downton Abbey because he's a rich MFer who hasn't worked a real job. Literally, maybe, I don't know. Like they're attacking like Kamala Harris for being at McDonald's. Has he ever had a normal job? I don't know. and trying to tell all of these people who desperately need help, no. The government helping you, that's slavery. You wouldn't want that. You just want to struggle more. Insane. They think this guy is going to be the next Trump. He does not have it. When you click the join button and become a tier 2 member, you get access to all of our weekly top 10 lists. What are you waiting for?